Hello and welcome to the New Zealand Esports Racing Series, where we will be finding out once again who is the fastest Gran Turismo 7 driver in New Zealand in 2024. Of course, on the back of a brilliant championship in 2023. We had a great championship last year. We had the live finals as well. Really, really exciting racing. And we're back for more. We're so keen. We're really keen to get going. And we're going to give you a bunch of information. But we've got 6 rounds of the online season kicking off tonight. And it's all leading up to the live finals in Wellington on the 16th of November. So we've got a whole bunch of information about the season to go through. But before we get into round 1 tonight, we're going to include our explanation for our new and improved point system, the car in use for the online season, our sponsors, and our prizes. But before that, it's time to introduce the commentary team. My name is George Cook, and it is a genuine pleasure to be back in the commentary box to lead you through this year's NZ Esports Racing Series coverage. On the Respawn Esports Twitch channel for now, we do have an extra partner who we will be streaming with at some point, but unfortunately we couldn't get that going tonight. Joining me in the comms box will be Nathan Howe. You can see him off to the right-hand side right here. Hello, Nathan. Welcome to the commentary box. You've been involved in the background of both the 2023 and now the 2024 events. We've had the pleasure of meeting, of course, you and me in person at the live finals last year, which was awesome. Welcome in, and how excited are you for this awesome series for NZERS in 2024?
Yeah, g'day, George. Really looking forward to this one. We've been excited about the series for quite a while now. Obviously, we kicked this off last year, and we're doing a few things similar. We're doing a few things different. I'm sure we'll talk a bit more about that over the course of the introduction. But yeah, no, look, this is shaping up to be a really ripper season. Lot of talent, lot of excitement in the books, and yeah, it's just, I mean, look, we've been watching these guys prepare for not a very, very long time, but certainly long enough, and I think you'll agree this is going to be one red hot season.
It certainly will. And part of that is going to be the fact that it is a one-make season. We've got more information about what the car is and who the sponsors may be coming up in just a few short moments. But let's start, I think, Nathan, with telling everyone what the format's going to be, because that's important this time round. 6 rounds of online season starts tonight, leading up to the grand finals on the 16th of November. As we mentioned before, the drivers will earn driving points all the way through the online season, and the ones with the most, I believe it's the top 12, I think it is, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong on that, top 12 will bag themselves a place in the live finals in Wellington. So that is at the end of the online season, we then assign championship points earned for the finishing places of those top 12. So if you're in the top 6, you get a few extra points that you then take over into the live finals to give yourself that little bit of an extra head start in those final few races at the live finals. So this year we've got 3 divisions of racing. So we've grown a little bit until we've got an extra division in there, which is absolutely fantastic. Last year we had Div 1, Div 2, Div 3. It was smaller Div 3. Now we've got a pretty packed field in all divisions. And so because of that, we have actually ended up with an improved point system, which includes dynamic divisions and a breakout system. Now this breakout system will give top performing drivers in Division 2 a chance to break into the Division 1 category and gain a shot at getting themselves enough points to join the live finals. That's a very exciting system, and we're looking forward to seeing how that's going to work. So the top few in Division 2 will actually earn more points in those top positions in their races on the online season than the bottom few in Division 1. So you've got to really perform. If you're in Division 1, you've got to make those races count. You've got to get good positions, and that's how you're going to guarantee yourself a place in those live finals. So we've got many returning drivers from 2023, including our champion Matthew McEwen. We're very much looking to forward to having them all returning, and a whole lot of new faces on the grid as well for a new season of racing. Nathan will be going through a bunch of these drivers as we watch them go to their first round tonight, which is going to be great. So let's talk
Yeah,
about our sponsors and the prizes this year. We're going to be getting into qualifying soon, I promise, and I will at some point stop talking. Nathan's already sitting there going, oh no, he's on a rant, he's going for it. Yeah, I'm going for it, but we've got to get through the information so that we can go racing, because that's what we're all here to see. By the way, I want to say a big shout out to everyone in chat thank you for joining us here on the Respawn Esports Twitch channel for today's broadcast. We'll be coming to you every single week, all the way up to the live finals. I think the online season ends on the 18th of October. Then we'll have the live finals, of course, on the 16th of November. Right. First up, this year's NZ Esports Racing Series is primarily sponsored by Toyota Gazoo Racing New Zealand, who have generously provided some seriously amazing prizes this year. This is real geek out territory here, Nathan. I'm sure you'll agree. This year's winner will earn a Toyota Gazoo Racing New Zealand factory supported test session in a real Toyota 86 trophy car. Now, this is
Now
where it's at for sim racing, right?
that's you don't get much better than real life, and yeah, that's an incredible opportunity. One, like you say, it's only the top driver. We're not interested in second place in this regard, but yeah, look, it's as far as sim racing goes, that's a pretty mega prize. So you know that they're going to be wanting that one.
Exactly right. It's a super exciting opportunity. And it's one of those things that I think a lot of racing teams around the world nowadays are looking at. How do we bring these incredibly talented sim racers from the digital world over to the real world? And we've seen that with Gran Turismo all the way since GT Academy, long time ago now. Now there's a movie. Now we've got all of this incredible history now there with bringing these digital, incredibly talented drivers onto the real racing scene, and we know that it works. And so thank you very much to Toyota Gazoo Racing New Zealand for putting up this incredible prize for this year's New Zealand esports racing season. That is absolutely awesome. The next sponsor we need to talk about is Next Level Racing, who have also generously provided us a number of prizes. The categories for those prizes will be announced later, but we have a little teaser of what they are. So Nathan, I think it's time for me and you to react to this because we haven't seen this. We don't know what
No,
these
we
prizes
actually
are.
we specifically didn't look so that we can react in real time. So yeah, I'm eager to have a look, mate. Let's have a look.
Excellent. All right, let's take a look at the first of two prizes.
Request permission to engage with the test conducted smash. Over.
Wow. Haptic devices, man. We are living in the future, dude. What? Come on, give us some thoughts on that.
That's that's some pretty high end kit. I mean, look, we talk sometimes about how you don't need the best equipment to necessarily be fast in sim racing, but I tell you what, stuff like that really helps.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Really good job there by Next Level Racing. We can't wait to announce the category that prize is going to be given out to. Let's take a look at our second prize offered by the Next Level Racing before we jump into the final bit of information. Then we'll be racing. Don't worry. Stay with us. We're nearly there. Okay. Let's take a little look.
Do it.
Okay, that again is absolutely awesome. The GT Lite Pro. What a rig that is.
Now, that's the sort of rig to have in your living room. Obviously, we can't all have a dedicated sim racing room. I mean, I myself don't even get to have a dedicated bona fide sim racing room. But I mean, it's compact, it's maneuverable. but you could still set it up and do a 24-hour if you wanted. So that's just incredible. Awesome.
So a big thank you to both Toyota Gazoo Racing New Zealand and Next Level Racing for that. That is much appreciated. Some more sponsors before we get going. Hand in hand, we have Respawn Esports Center and Secret Labs, who are providing amazing support to the broadcast, the administration, and of course they will play host to the live finals event in Wellington at the Respawn Esports Center on the 16th of November. So you are all welcome to join us, whether you are racing or not. Just bear that in mind as we go through our online season. The car selection for the entire online season is a one-make series, Nathan. This is where things get really exciting because we mentioned before that the factory test drive is in a Toyota 86 Cup car. Now, we are happen to be in a Toyota 86 Group 4 car here in Gran Turismo 7 for the entire online season.
Yeah, so that's one of the big changes from last year to this year. Obviously, last year was very, it was kind of like the Nations Cup. If anyone's ever done the Nations Cup, you know it's different cars every round, and so we had supercars, we had street cars, race cars. There was really something for everyone as far as the car selection. This season, yeah, we're sticking with the Toyota 86, and I mean, to be fair, what a package to stick with for a whole season. It's balanced, it's Group 4. I believe it's based on sort of like the Nürburgring type cars that Toyota Gazoo used to run sort of in their infancy, before they were the household performance name that they are now. But yeah, look, I mean, it's about 350 horse, 1,200 kilos. That's certainly more than enough to have a heap of fun. And of course, it's a recipe for some cracking motorsports.
Exactly. And those with the top skill will be able to show us their strategy and consistency in these Group 4 cars. They're not quite as pacey as the Group 3 cars that are available in the game. And that is actually incredibly good for racing sometimes. It'll narrow up the gaps between our competitors. We're hoping to see that, of course, at this race today, which we're just about to talk about. But this is going to be a fantastic season with the Group 4 cars. And by the end of this, by 6 rounds through, they're going to be incredibly familiar with these cars. They're going to be absolutely lightning quick. I'll tell you, I like the Group 4 category. I'm not quick in it now. And even after 6 rounds of online racing, I wouldn't be nearly as quick as these guys. So they will put in so much work, as you were saying.
Oh, look, well, we saw it. We saw it even like days, weeks ago. You know, people are discussing lap times and what's a good strategy and what's a good way to do this corner. And like, it's cool seeing that sort of sim racing scene where people help each other, people sort of lend a hand. And like you say, the 86 Group 4, it's not the most difficult car in the world. It's not the most tedious. The faster cars, the faster you get, obviously, the trickier they can be to drive really on the edge. But I think easy to learn, hard to master is sort of the term for this one because it's anybody can get in and start going fast, but then only the really good will actually be able to set those purple laps and get those all critical driver points.
Exactly right. So, speaking of who is going to be the fastest, we're about to jump into our qualifying session. But first, we need to go through some information about the track. And I promise, once again, this is the third time I think I've promised. We'll have to keep a counter of this, Nathan, with you go through. How many promises have the commentary team made? And hopefully not broken, but maybe broken as well. Nonetheless, we're going to jump into a little bit of information. It's time to talk about round 1. This is the first round of 6. We're going to have more races coming up. We'll talk about those at a later date. So let's jump over and have a little look at some information. So today, as you might be able to see on screen, it is the Red Bull Ring, 4.318 kilometers, 10 turns at this fantastic circuit here in Spielberg, Styria, Austria. Course capacity, 105,000 people. It is a famous destination, and we got Red Bull, of course, who are in charge of this entire place, which they absolutely love to do. I think, Nathan, you mentioned earlier, formerly known as the A1 Ring, formerly known as the Österreich Ring. It is the Prince, formerly known as Prince of the racing scene here, which is fantastic. Of course, it was built in 1969, 55 years ago, hosting the Formula One Austrian Grand Prix, the Grand Prix motorcycle racing, and of course DTM from 2001 to 2003, short gap 2011 to 2018, and then of course returned in 2021. This is a fantastic circuit, and there are some really tricky corners in here. It's deceptive, Nathan. You and me have both raced at this place. It is tricky.
Mate, this track is probably the best suited for GT racing and especially Group 4. It's got something for everyone. Long straights, nice corners, real good overtaking opportunities, and also those sweepers, which I mean, yeah, you know as well as I, those sweepers can catch you out at the best of times. really short lap too. Like it's a very quick, very ferocious. There isn't really too many opportunities to sort of have a breather, and it's that sort of non-stop action. Difficult for them, but you and I get to sit back and enjoy the show, and so does everyone else watching. So it's going
This
to
is
be
the
good fun.
This is the benefit of being in the commentary box, but we're going to be watching on with eager eyes. As you said, the slipstream will be in effect around here. It is definitely something that is going to play an impact. Yes, there's a bunch of tight corners as well. Turn 3, of course, heavy braking zone after that first long straight. You come through the first corner, which is really tricky. Off camber, it's got sausage curbs on either side. Put the power down too early. Even in these Group 4 cars, you can get that thing oversteering into barrier, into the shadow realm, which is no fun to be at. But turn 3, a critical heavy braking zone and overtaking opportunity. Dive down the inside if you're brave enough. Cut across that inside sausage curb, but be careful on the exit. It's another loss of traction zone as the track cambers away towards the exit, the left-hand side of that corner. Then, of course, turn 4 as well. Schloss Gold is its name. Downhill heavy braking zone and another overtaking opportunity at the end of that straight. But it is the trickiest braking zone for overtaking on this track. Into turn 3, it's uphill. Into turn 4, it's downhill. You'll find that car feeling a lot lighter than it should be. Good luck getting the grip when you send it down the inside to the apex of the corner. And then, of course, turn 6 to 8. This is the infill section here through Rauch and then through the Worth curve. Beautiful section of the track, possibly my favorite section of corners as well, especially as you sweep out through turn 7 and into turn 8 down towards turn 9. Beautiful section of the track. Then, of course, turn 9, this is where we have that right-hander in towards turn 10, which is the Red Bull Mobile curve, the final corner of the track down onto the pit straight. The pit entry just off the apex of turn 9. That, Nathan, as we both know, can cause some issues if you're going into the pits. We're just about to talk about strategy too. If you're going into the pits, you need to hug that apex line, but careful not to bleed off too much speed. You might catch someone out behind you unawares.
Well, that's the thing. This is one of those tracks where there's two very different approaches. If you're doing a lap, on your own, there's no one else around, you can sort of attack it one way, but then you introduce a bit of traffic, and all of a sudden you've got to sort of cover this corner and maybe have a lunge in that corner. So yeah, there's two very different mindsets when you're racing around here. And again, these are some of the fastest guys in the country, so we're not expecting the field to get too spread out. People are going to really need to be on their toes.
Exactly right. Let's briefly talk strategy. We've got a few driver profiles to go through as well. We are so ready and eager to go. We've been a little bit delayed today as well, unfortunately, so we're behind schedule. We're trying to get to the racing. We've got qualifying ready to go. The drivers are eager as anything. We've got a few of them in the chat as well, by the way. Once again, welcome to everyone in chat. Lovely to have you in here. Let's talk strategy. Of course, it is tires set to 7 times degradation. Fuel is set to 3 times degradation. That means that tire degradation is going to be very high for this session. We have 2 mandatory tires, the racing mediums and the racing hards, but weather beware. The weatherman has called out that there's going to be rain in this race and possibly in qualifying as well. That means the intermediates and the wet tires will be available to the drivers. Expected life there for the racing mediums is 12 laps and racing hards is 16 laps. Now, we need to mention this race is 27 laps. We are expecting rain. That means that you can, if it's completely dry, if the heavens do not open up on us here in Austria, we will be able to make it work with a racing medium stint and a racing hard. That's a one-stop strategy, but the rain is going to come in here, and you need to get those 2 mandatory tires, Nathan, so probably looking more likely to be some kind of 2, maybe even a 3-stop strategy today.
Yeah, see, this is the thing, like even setting up these races, you can't script the weather exactly. So, we think there might be rain, but I can't guarantee what lap it'll show up. If it does, you can't really guarantee what lap, we're both in the dark. But yeah, I mean, look, what strategies do you do? What do you go for? And a lot of that's going to come from obviously this qualifying session too. What happens in quali, because that'll dictate sort of your starting mindset. But yeah, look, first race of the first, well, not first season, but the very first race. All the strategies are open at the moment because we're nipping at the bit to get started.
Exactly right. Right. So as Nathan gets himself prepared now to get the qualifying going, he's got his data tool all plugged in and ready to go. We're going to run through 3 driver profiles, 3 drivers that will be on the grid, ones to keep an eye out for. Starting off with Matthew McEwen. He is our champion. So we've got a few facts up on screen. The champion of 2023's New Zealand Esports Racing Team from Palmerston North A.E. McEwen. He's a legend. He's a GT World Series driver, has represented New Zealand in GT World Series, that's Gran Turismo World Series, a number of times. He's an awesome dude, great fun to hang around. He's been part of Team New Zealand for Gran Turismo World Series in 2019, 2021, and 2023, so for 4 consecutive years. And fun fact number 3 here, he spun out while doing his Grand Prize race day last year. Unhappy face. That's very unfortunate. We never like to see it. By the way, we'll talk a little bit more about the liveries. Nathan's got a whole bunch to say about that, but we will get to that soon. We want to get racing. Let's go racing. Driver profile number 2, of course, it's Ben McDonald, also from Palmerston North. He came 6th in 2023's New Zealand Esports Racing Championship, represented New Zealand at the World Esports Games 2018 in StarCraft. How cool is that? I had a good chat with him last live finals about that. Very cool achievement right there. And he's currently studying to be an accountant, so he is all fun in the sim racing world. And then he's doing this accountancy thing in the background. What a smart man. Then we have, third of all, it is Lewis Atkinson, a well-known name from Auckland. I believe he's in chat as well. Runner-up, of course, of 2023's New Zealand Esports Racing Series. Also a proud 5 times national champion BMX racer. This man knows how to do it on 2 wheels and 4. And, of course, fact number 3, beaten sim racing local Simon Bishop once in a race, which is something to be very, very proud of. Nonetheless, good to have Lewis back on the grid. He was 2nd in the championship last year. Monkey Matt was 3rd. All 3 of them back on the grid. We're going to have a fantastic race. Right, let's jump back to ourselves here for just a moment, Nathan. We are going to go qualifying. Let's get it started. It's time to get going. Let's kick it off. Hit that red button or whatever the color button it is you've got. It is time to go to round 1 and qualifying in a few moments' time. Nathan, what are we expecting? What's the weather like out there before we switch over to the actual qualifying?
Mate, we joked about the weather possibly playing a factor. It's currently raining in the quali lobby, so I think that might be playing a factor a bit earlier than even we anticipated. I can already tell you they'll be hurriedly bolting on their wet tires or their inters. I don't know that you'd do a slick lap, but it just depends on what the weather's doing. They seem to be going out right now, actually.
Fantastic.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see who's the rain master, at least for qualifying. Because again, the race itself, we don't know. The jury's out on that one. But qualifying, it definitely looks like it's going to be quite wet, quite damp.
All right, here we go. So for the first time here in 2024, NZERS goes qualifying in round 1. We'll see you out on track. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. We do have to quickly adjust some race settings momentarily, but we will get started. Here we are on track, and it is absolutely pouring down with rain, mate. This is absolutely drenched. So this is going to provide a real challenge, and I get the feeling that these conditions are not intermediate conditions. There might be a few out there that are risking it, but this is full wet.
Yeah, it definitely looks like full wet conditions at the moment. Again, we do have 10 minutes, so there might be time for an interlap if it does clear up. But I mean, you know, us broadcast team, we can't see what the weather radar is doing, so we don't know if it's like this for the whole time or are we going to get a bit of a clear up. So at the moment, though, I think it's a safe bet everyone's on the heavy wets.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look at the conditions out there. It's going to make the infield section especially difficult and the braking zone into Schlossgold and turn 4, downhill and wet conditions on tyres that are going to be cold as anything. That is going to be a really, really tricky one. Out on track right now, we've got Lewis Atkinson, HC Lewis in the number 12, where I think they get to choose their own numbers this time. I think last time we had the race numbers depending on their qualifying position pre-season.
Something like that. Actually, just on the quick side note, I just remembered too something we forgot to mention before getting this underway. One of the differences that was made for this season, no traction control. So these guys are out here in heavy wet conditions with no traction control. So that just even more brings into the whole who has the racecraft, who has the car driving ability. It sounds really elementary, but yeah, who can keep it straight at the moment, because we're seeing a few tail happy cars on the exits of corners, so keep an eye on that one.
Exactly right. So this, of course, is the Division 1 category, so that means that these are the tippy-top drivers. There was a pre-season qualifying event where everyone set lap times to determine what their initial division and time was going to be, and So these are your top 14 drivers that have come in here. But that means they're going to be as skilled as they come. These are the best of the best here in Gran Turismo 7 in New Zealand. So if anyone can do it without TC, I imagine it's these drivers at the moment. So we've got Lewis. He's just out. He got out really, really early, did Lewis. That's going to be good. Unfortunately for Dive Cable, he's right behind the vast amount of rain that has been kicked up by the rear diffuser of Clam Fever's car in P2 at the moment. They're all on their first hot lap right now. So we should see in a few corners' time Lewis come around and set the first benchmark lap in this. Behind them, we've got Airborne as well in P4. Monkey Matt's just behind them. Then VTX Blindman GT Pukeko. Now, Pukeko is a late sub into Div 1. And because we did, unfortunately, have Ben Groves unable to make it tonight for round 1. He did qualify in Division 1, but that means we have elevated Pukeko up into Division 1 initially. And the first time has come in slow, I would say, for this race typically, but a 1:48 there from HC Lewis. And looks like he's going to maintain that for a little bit, Nathan.
Yeah, well, again, look, it's early to be making too big of a call. Everyone's out there feeling for grip and sort of getting an idea of conditions, because you know, one of the things Gran Turismo does really well is wet weather. It actually simulates where the water sort of flows. You know, the high spots are dry and the low spots, the water sort of pools and collects. So, you know, they've got to really go out there and feel it with their bums, so to speak. They've got to find where the puddles are, because obviously the racing line changes when it's wet too. You know, you don't take the same corners the same way that you would. So yeah, it's early days, and we can expect to see those times fall, and as they sort of gain a bit of confidence and start to push in some of those corners there, as we're just seeing McEwen and Big Head Ted have gone quicker. So we're down to a 47.0. But yeah, again, look, this whole session is going to be mostly R&D. I think you'll find it until there's something of a dry line. Yeah, look. What do? Do you go out and try and set a lap immediately, or do you wait for it to sort of clear up a bit and then you start pushing? They do have fuel burn on as well, so take that one into consideration. Obviously, they'll be trying to lighten the fuel load for, you know, less weight's always going to be an advantage, right? Or is it? Because in these wet conditions, sometimes you maybe want the extra weight to sort of keep things a bit stable. So,
yeah, it's an interesting one, but there is only 10 minutes of qualifying, so the sooner they can get out and set the laps, the better. You essentially need to get out there, set a banker, and then immediately try and find that improvement. Lewis Atkinson just sets a 1:48.512. That's a little bit of an improvement, but it's not going to be enough. Big Head Ted still ahead of him. Dive Cable has just taken P3 away from him. Monkey Matt sets a 48.268, goes to P4. That still leaves Big Head Ted with a 0.9 of a second gap to McEwen. Does improve a little bit, but Crimson has just taken away the P2 spot. What a fantastic lap from GD Crimson there, 47.890. He's only the second driver to get into the 47 seconds there, I believe. And I think Big Head Ted did as well. Only just by 2/1000ths of a second that last lap, and then by a few hundredths of a second the lap before. Still sitting nearly a second off P1 though, so that's quite the gap to start off. We're qualifying. We're about 5 minutes in, 6 minutes in, so we're over halfway, Nathan.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I'm sure we're going to see these times just continue to tumble. That is a car around. Look at that. He's yeah. Look, we're going to see these times tumble right up until the checkered flag, I think. And again, a lot of that's just coming to getting the feel for conditions. Bear in mind too, this doesn't mean that the race is going to start wet. I don't think that's how the weather works in GT. I think you can actually. So, you know, sometimes it varies depending on the time of day or depending on, you know, various factors. But yeah, look, I mean, at the moment, really want to avoid the curbs. Those will be slick. Those will be slippery. And it's really go-kart lines apply, to be fair. So yeah, we're just watching. Is that Crimson who's on another good lap? Looks like he's just a bit taily there too. Actually, he's slowed up a bit, has he? Or has Ted just got a run on him?
Well, I think he lost his lap there through Worth Curve. He wasn't able to really hold on to the end of the car, so that's going to cost him the lap time anyway, so he might as well set up for it. It looks like these two might be working together ever so slightly, or certainly Crimson was in the right place in the rear end of Big Head Ted there for quite some time. That could be giving him a little bit of advantage. Sometimes you can get faster if you just follow another car. That is entirely possible. Big Head Ted has just gone and taken the P2 position back. He's done it by 0.05 of a second, puts him just under 0.8 of a second away from McEwen, though. What a slide from Big Head Ted through turn one, giving it absolutely everything. This is what we were talking about earlier. In the dry conditions, even in these Group 4 cars, you can put down enough power to get yourself turned around at the exit of turn one, just given the nature of the track. Now we're in these conditions, and these drivers know how much time they're going to need to catch up with Matthew McEwen. He's got 0.8 of a second over the entire grid. Well, they're going to have to really send it, and this is an example of that. Big Head Ted drifting around the corner at turn one, trying to desperately get the power down. It's what we saw Crimson do out of Worth Curve as well, trying to get the power down early, but the grip level is just not there for that.
Well, Ted is actually a professional drifter, so if there's anyone I can, if there's anyone I'd have money on to get it crossed up and survive, it would be him.
It was some rather masterful counter steering.
Well, it's definitely not what you want to do in the race, is it? I mean, look, he's second at the moment. We know there's time left on the table. The big story at the moment, I mean, obviously McEwen, we know McEwen's good. He's the reigning champion for a reason, and he put on such a dominant display last season, and indeed the live event as well. It was all McEwen's way. Lewis, currently sitting in P7, he was the runner-up. He came second in pretty much everything in the live event. Second in the quali, second in the sprint race, second in the feature. So I think there might be a bit of a sort of an air of expectation there from him. He's obviously still sitting in 7th. He hasn't improved on that particular lap. But, look, he'll be wanting to really push. And, I mean, knows that he can take the fight to McEwen.
Exactly
Monkey
right.
Matt as well has just slid into 2nd position. And Monkey Matt was the 3rd place getter last season. So, look, Lewis is probably a bit out of form at the moment. But again, it just shows you how tight this grid is, isn't it? These are the top drivers in New Zealand. There aren't any, we didn't pluck any randoms off the street and say, hey, do you want to come and race? These guys have all fought hard to be here. They all deserve to be here. And, just because the wet weather's sort of mixed it up a bit, I don't even know if they knew that it was going to be a wet qualifying. It might have taken some of them by surprise. But, yeah, look, it's just going to be one of those things. It's improvise, adapt, overcome, isn't it?
That's right. Yep. Or there's the we won't say it just in case we get copyrighted, but certainly there's some outlasting involved in this as well. Yeah, Monkey Matt up to P2. He's not close enough to Matthew McEwen, and he only got that P2 by 1/1000th of a second over Big Head Ted. So the tight gap it is between the two. You did also say reigning champion, and I have to say, nicely done. The reigning champion.
Yes. Sorry, even I didn't get that one. Oh my
there
goodness.
we go. Yeah, even chat didn't know. So
little bit unfortunate. We've lost Psydog, so I'm guessing that'll mean he'll start off the back for this race. That's a bit unfortunate, but I mean, hey, look, is starting from the back a poor choice for this one? Because if this is the conditions, if this is how the race is going to start, you might not want to be up in the thick of it and get
at the end of the day, the strategy is going to be the important thing in all of this. Where you end up is going to be down to your consistency and how you execute that strategy as well, how few penalties you've got. Speaking of penalties, we've got VTX Blyman here having an awful time out on track right now. He's down P13 and he's gone to the Shadow Realm. Even the camera can't keep up. We've got Airborne in P12. These are the last laps from the drivers, because we are now 11 minutes into this qualifying. So around comes Matthew McEwen. This will be his last lap, and let's see what this is. I don't think he needs to improve. He's had the gap to P2 cut down ever so slightly. Monkey Matt is finished. He's in P2. Crimson in P3. Big Head Ted, he had a 5.5 second penalty, but he's going to hold on to that P4 position, and we are going to go now to our results and get this all going. Now, I do realize that I have missed out one very important screen on this stream at the moment. We will get that fixed up for next time. But let's read through the results of the Round 1 Division 1 Qualifying 1. The first time we have had our qualifying here. Matthew McEwen takes pole position, a 147.0, followed by Monkey Matt, GD Crimson, Big Head Ted, Dive Cable, Caleb JB, Scar, Lewis in P8. That is the big surprise of the evening. One we'll have to keep an eye on. P9 to Poo Coco. Nemo is going to be in P10. That finishes out our top 10 in the 5th row on the grid for the upcoming race. P11 to Clan Fever, and then, of course, honorably Airborne P12, followed by VTX Blindman GT, and unfortunately, Psydog, who would have been well up there, at least in P8, but unfortunately, due to a disconnect, he has ended up outside that. We do have his best lap there, 49.000, 49 flat, in fact. So we shall see if he's able to get back onto the grid, and we will get these things sorted. So in the meantime, let's talk a little bit about qualifying as we get ready for the race. We also have an interview coming up in a few moments' time, so you'll have to bear with us as we get ourselves all sorted and ready to go for our qualifying pole sitters interview. Give me 1 second here, and I will get this all arranged. The magic of getting things sorted. We do get there eventually.
Yeah.
And there we go. Okay, over to our interview with our pole sitter, Matthew McEwen. Can you hear us, sir?
I sure can.
Excellent. Well, first of all, a big congratulations. You are on pole once again, and in conditions that were incredibly challenging out there. That is pretty much as difficult as it gets with those, turn 3, turn 4, tricky braking zones, off camber, TC0, flooded track. How did that feel out there today?
It was absolutely horrible. I just want to say that was it's definitely very very challenging conditions, and so honestly, I just want to say well done to everyone who actually managed to get all the way around the track in one piece. I know that I didn't on a couple of laps and had to throw them away, but miraculously did manage to get a couple that did work out properly.
Yeah, and the ones that did work out properly worked out really properly. I think the gap at the end there was just under 0.7 of a second. So one would say in a field that's this close with cars that are these consistently, equal in terms of times for the most part, especially in dry conditions, that's quite the gap there. That'll be making you pretty happy at the beginning of this race. We don't know what the weather's like in the upcoming race, but if it's wet, it seems like you may have a little bit of an advantage over some of the field there.
Yes, I would definitely be very excited to be seeing some rain in this race. I back myself to be nice and consistent, so either way, I'm really hoping that it works out nice and stable for me.
That's right. Well, it's 27 laps, and it's the beginning of round 1. Now, I know everyone's been practicing. We've had the preseason qualifier as well, so you've been putting in a lot of work as it is, as you did last season as well. That's what helped get you across the line in the live finals too. Is it the same mentality coming into this year's racing on the back of being a 2023 champion and looking for that 2024 championship?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm just looking to get enough practice in there so that I can keep the pace up, and with a bit of luck and a bit of work, it should be, hopefully down to Wellington for the finals, and then we'll see how we go from there. Because obviously anything can happen in the live finals. One little mistake, and you're really in a bit of trouble. It didn't happen last year. I'm hoping that it stays nice and stable this year.
That's right. And of course, we all wish you the best of luck. But I think we're time for us to maybe start to look at getting racing. I'm sure everyone's chomping at the bit. But congratulations again, Matt. Lovely talking to you once again. I'm sure we'll be seeing you back up here a number of times this season. Might be as many times as we saw you last season as well. You were basically the number one person who was in here in the commentary box with us. But a pleasure speaking to you. Best of luck for the race. We'll let you go and get ready, and we will see you out on track soon.
All right, thank you.
Excellent. So that is Matthew McEwen, and he is sounding confident, Nathan, we have to admit.
Oh, mate. Well, like we said, he was just such a dominant force last season. I mean, if you were a betting man, you'd certainly put the money on him. But that's not to say that there aren't people here who can take the fight to him. I mean, again, we saw it last year with the likes of Lewis and Monkey Matt, and now this season. I mean, there's just let's not discount anybody. Motorsport is purely unscripted. So once that green flag drops, I mean, dude, anything could happen for good or for bad. I mean, it's just one of those things. We'll just have to see how that all goes. But yes, McEwen is a very strong choice, and I mean his reputation just kind of is justified.
Absolutely right. So we're going to be going racing in a few moments' time. I think, Nathan, there's not much more else to say, but let's go racing and get this 27-lap opening round of the season going. We're going to be getting out on track in a few moments' time. We're very much looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. We don't know what the weather's going to do. We know that there's a big strategy call involved today. You've got the racing mediums, you've got the racing hard tires. You need to use both sets, and there may be rain out on track. That's going to really, really change things around. So we will see exactly what happened. By the way, in the background, of course, we do have Division 2 and Division 3 running. They will not be broadcast, unfortunately. They've got to do the work to get themselves into Div 1 if they want to be on the broadcast and get themselves a shot at the live finals here at the New Zealand Esports Racing Series. We will be going racing in a few moments' time, so stay with us. We appreciate everyone who has jumped into chat. Yeah, it's great to have everyone back for the 2024 season. We do also have to do another couple of shout outs too, to a couple of very, very important people in the background. One of those is Tom England. You may know him as HC Atom or just Atom or A Tom, depends on how your brain works. It really does. The man himself in the background doing all the administration, sorting things out. He's even hosting Division 2 in the background. He's actually here in chat as well, listening to us ramble on, juggling all sorts of stuff in his life and in NZERS, and he has been a huge driving force behind NZERS through gaining sponsors, for organizing the tools, the broadcast, images, everything, and getting these drivers involved as well. He's been a real driving force behind this. So I think, Nathan, both you and me can say big thank you to Tom England in the background, because he has just done fantastic work to get this series organized.
Yeah, absolutely. His effort has not gone unnoticed, not gone unappreciated. I'm sure these drivers would agree. New Zealand needs more of these like real premier level events, and at the moment he's providing. So, big ups to Atom for that one.
Absolutely right. I think he might have unmuted his mic. I'm just wondering if Tom England might want to say a few words on stream to the viewers and the drivers.
Hello, guys. Thanks for introducing me like that. It's much appreciated. It's a pleasure to put this event on for the New Zealand GT community, and like you say, Nate, creating more premier events for guys to get involved in and have really tough competition on a national level, and not have to deal with Australian times when it comes to league racing and things like that. And really happy to be taking a step closer to putting a talented sim racer behind the wheel of a real race car in a competition format. This year, obviously, with Toyota Gazoo Racing New Zealand putting the winner behind the wheel of a Toyota 86 trophy car in a factory-supported testing session. What a huge moment that's going to be for sim racing in New Zealand. I'm really excited to see it happen. I did have a comment that I wanted to make a little bit earlier when you guys did the driver profiles, when you were talking about Matthew McEwen, our champion from last year, who's the hot favourite to win it this year. I want to point out a little known fact about Matthew McEwen that some people don't know. In 2023, Matthew McEwen raced head-to-head on the F1 game against Liam Lawson, who many of you might know is the Red Bull reserve driver and is hotly tipped to be a Formula One driver next year in 2025. Matthew McEwen had a one-on-one race with him on the F1 game at Red Bull HQ in Auckland in 2023, and Matthew won. So he's got a lot of accolades behind him that a lot of people know about. That's one that's not too widely known, so might be a little bit of a hot tip to put in your notebooks if you're chasing your New Zealand Esports Racing Series trivia this year. But yeah, thanks for the shout out, guys. Thanks for mentioning me, and good luck for the call tonight. I hope our drivers have a good race here at the Red Bull Ring.
Absolutely right. And speaking of races, it's time for us to go racing. Nathan, I think it's time for us to kick off the race. So if you could please
hit that
get
button,
us,
shall we?
I think it's time to hit the big button and let's get ourselves out on track and ready to go for another bit of racing. Now it is 27 laps. It's the beginning of round one here at the Red Bull Ring, beginning of the online season of NZERS, and we're going to be going to the starting grid right now. Okay, here we are on the grid. Of course, it is a false start, and the false starts will be penalised. We wait for the 5 lights to go out. This will be absolutely critical. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. We're waiting for the green flag. And here we go, lights out, and we're away racing. Matthew McKeown leads us away. It's a great start, though, from Monkey Matt in P2, already putting a bit of pressure on the inside of Matthew McKeown. You can see the green car now switching to the outside line. That'll give Monkey Matt an opportunity on the inside there, side by side. That's Crimson now. He's got a good run on the outside from GD Crimson, and Monkey Matt's got no answer to that right now. He's going to have the inside line, though, up into turn 3. Caleb also jumping up to P4 ahead of Big Head Ted, and HC Lewis, what a start from him. 2 places already off the beginning. Scar has moved up to P8 as well. No incident so far, but that's a great start. Oh, we do have something going on here. Caleb has gone up the inside and taken P2 away from Monkey Matt and GD Crimson as well, who looks to have had a bit of an incident there. And he has fallen, unfortunately, down to P5 as we head towards Schlossgold. Down the hill we go for the first time in this race, 27 laps. There will be tyre differences. There will be differences in strategy execution that'll be playing a part of this initial first lap of racing. But Caleb, what a job he has done. Moves up into P2 ahead of our third place champion from 2023. Relatively clean start there, I'd say. Nathan, what do you think of that?
Yeah, that was an absolute rocket start from Caleb, but I mean, how good was McEwen's launch? He just walked away, he's laughing, he's got the clear air. All he has to do is knuckle down and start punching out those laps while these guys squabble over space. But yeah, look, I mean, Lewis, good start from him. Pretty much, I don't think there was really many faults with anybody's launches. It was sort of who got good and who got gooder, but look, Caleb's pretty comfy at the moment. That's definitely the he's the net positive out of that first lap. No major incidents either, which, I mean, that's always a good thing. You'd hate to get taken out on the first lap of the first race. But yeah, I mean, dude, you can't fault that start from really anybody, and that's why these guys are the top in the country, isn't it?
Exactly right. So Crimson's just gone up the inside line there, tried it. Unfortunately, got the power down a little bit too early. Rear end stepped out on him, and Big Head Ted will continue to maintain P4. Now HC Lewis, oh, he's going to look for a move on the outside. He's going to try the switch onto the inside line on Big Head Ted. This could be on for a move here. Big Head Ted defends down the inside. Lewis is going to have to go around the outside, and then there's Crimson in behind trying to get that position back. Tries on the inside line of turn 3. AMS AG corner, not usually good for that inside line unless you get a really good overlap on the car ahead, unfortunately. For Crimson, it was not good enough, and that's compromised him, puts him in the range of dive cable in behind him, P6. More defensive action here from Big Head Ted. Nearly gets his rear end cut off there by HC Lewis. HC Lewis, what a move down the inside. Power is down, goes down the inside, and if he's done it, he's going to have to ride the grass a little bit, but through Rouch, he is absolutely on the outside line. But Big Head Ted, huge send down the inside. Nathan, what a move is that? Look at these two, go for it.
Look at them, they were 2 by 2 by 2 at one point there. You cannot get much closer than that. But of course, Lewis and Ted are arguing over 4th place, but Dive Cable's sitting there. He's waiting to buy into this battle. All the while, Crimson's Johnny on the spot. If anything goes south up here, Crimson stands to gain. And then you got everybody else, Simon, Cam, just waiting. They're just biding their time. Then go on, guys, you guys fight, and we'll pick up the pieces. I mean, look, this is just such cracking racing. This is closer than the FIA races. I mean, take tyres into contention too. Some of them are on hards, some of them are on mediums. So, I mean, that's going to play a factor. It might not matter too much right about now, but down the line when these tyres start to wear out, we're going to start to see that story evolve. And then, of course, there's the ever-present question of, is the rain going to come? And if so, when? So, dude, where do you look? Where do you watch? This is exciting.
Look at the line of cars from P4 all the way down to the end of the grid. It's basically side by side. Big Head Ted's going to try again on HC Lewis. Has he managed to get it done? Let's see. HC Lewis has defended the outside line, Big Head Ted, and they've given themselves racing room. Oh, drift there from the Hooncorp driver of HC Lewis, and Big Head Ted got compromised on the exit. That'll be fortunate for him because at the end of this straight, turn 4, Lewis might just decide it's time for another send down the inside. Big Head Ted's already trying to predict it. Absolutely brilliant. Simon Bishop, by the way, up to P8 after starting at the back of the grid, I believe, or did we end up amending his position in qualifying?
No, he started from the back, so Simon's done it all himself. And again, he's a veteran Gran Turismo driver, has been for many years. He's only recently really retired from the World Series scene, but I mean, that man is capable. So there's absolutely no doubt that he'll be the one to do a last to first. Speaking of last to first, or speaking of first, Caleb has caught up to McEwen, and he's starting to put a bit of pressure on him. So
this is massive.
Not quite sure how that happened, whether Caleb caught up or whether McEwen made a mistake, but either way, that's the situation at the moment. He's very putting the pressure on. He's looking at every opportunity, but the problem there is that he's really burning up his tyres. So, I mean, look, how hard do you push? We're lap 4 of 27, George.
Yeah, that's right. And McEwen there's just put in the fastest lap of the race, 1:37.473. Caleb will be right on top of him in terms of that time. Gets a slightly worse exit out of turn 1, though. It's cost himself at least a couple of tenths of a second on the exit. But wow, really good job from Caleb. I mean, he started further down the grid than most of these guys in P5 or P6, I believe, and he's made his way up. A really opportunistic move in lap 1, set him up to get up into P2 ahead of Monkey Matt. And what a brilliant chase down of Matthew McEwen he's doing. He's putting pressure on the reigning champion, or the dry champion, we should say, given we're going with puns tonight. But the champion nonetheless of Matthew McEwen.
Caleb just picked up a half-a-second penalty, so that's going to bite him. That's going to sting.
Where has he done that, Nathan? Was that
I missed
on...
what that was for. I was just about to talk about track limits and how easy it is at Red Bull Ring specifically to pick up a track limits penalties. We've already seen a few of them have got penalties. Lewis has got half a second. Oh, and there's a bit of drama at the back too. What was that there? Was that Big Head Ted all out of shape? And he's a bit of drama in the midfield there, sort of lower midfield. These guys are absolutely arguing over every spot they can have. But yeah, look, I mean, Red Bull Ring, man, we talked about how good of a track it is for GT racing, but the flip side there is that it's just so easy to pick up those penalties, and that's going to give McEwen a bit of an extra. He's going to breathe a sigh of relief because he was really getting hounded with pressure there. And again, not sure if he caught up to him on his own skill or if McEwen made a mistake, but he was hounding him for the better part of 2 laps there. So that's going to sort of, he can wipe the sweat from his brow and eyes forward. But yeah, look at this mid-pack. These guys are absolutely vicious.
This is incredible. I mean, Big Head Ted, something big has happened to Big Head Ted. He has slipped down to P8. Simon Bishop's just done a move in turn 10 up the inside and gotten himself up into P7 now. Nemo now ahead of them too. So Nemo's up to P8. Oh, that is a Hooncorp car, very, very sideways. Looks like they controlled it out of turn 1. Not quite sure who that was, but yeah. There is so much action around the grid. I mean, Nathan, we were talking earlier about how we got the easy job here in the commentary box. Well, there's so much action out on track. Our job is not easy at all. We're trying to capture everything on screen for you. Simon Bishop now up the inside of Nemo, and he's got it done beautifully. That is a textbook overtake. That is from page 1 in the book.
Yeah, absolutely. And Simon and Nemo are kind of teammates. They both run with the BCG racing team over on Assetto Corsa. But so of course they're going to respect each other probably a little bit more than anyone else. I think if it was someone else, they'd probably be a bit more vicious, as we just see Big Head Ted making a massive send on Nemo. He's not wasting any time. Thank you, son. I'll take that.
He doesn't do anything small, does Big Head Ted?
He doesn't do anything small, no, and he certainly doesn't do anything too polite. But again, you don't want to be polite. You want to be fast. So if I'm faster than you, get out of my way. And he's. But of course, once again, now he's vulnerable to Nemo. Is Nemo going to respond around these sweepers?
Well, unfortunately, Nemo's got a penalty as well. So Big Head Ted's move there wasn't really necessary because he's going to end up ahead of him regardless. So Nemo will serve his penalty. There's the penalty line. That's on the back straight between turn 8 and 9. So it's really not the worst place to have a penalty, let's just say. But it's very awkward when you start to rejoin the track, as we've just seen. Oh, and that is Clan Fever getting all out of shape after Nemo and him come slightly together. What an absolutely brilliant battle we've had down the grid. Still remaining in the lead, Matthew McEwen, 1.5 seconds the gap. Back to Caleb, but Matthew McEwen has just picked up a 0.5 second penalty on the exit of turn 1. So it's going to be back to even Stevens between Caleb and Matthew McEwen. Both of them have served now a 0.5 second penalty. This one will be served a little bit later in the lap for Matthew McEwen. This is probably going to start playing into the hands of Monkey Matt, but we have yet to see what the strategies are like, Nathan. We could be seeing a mix of mediums and hards at the front. We could be seeing the same tyre. We don't know yet until we get to the pit stops, which we're expecting from about lap 12 onwards.
Well, we said McEwen was good. We never said he was perfect. He's just as susceptible as getting penalties as anyone else, and you're seeing it now. So for those that don't know about Gran Turismo 7, we're running what's called 7 times tyre wear. So what that means is that for every lap these guys drive, their tyres are getting worn down as if it's 7 laps. So 1 lap is 7. You can do the math there. So 27 laps. I'll leave you to do the math on that one. But what that's meaning is that these guys that have perhaps picked the softer tyre, the medium tyre compound, they're starting to feel a bit secondhand at this point. Those guys on the hards, perhaps not so much, but again, it's all down to how much how aggressive you're driving. Because of course, if you're just out there really giving it hell for leather, you're going to burn through your tires. But on the flip side, if you're a bit of a smooth operator, then potentially you can make them last a bit longer. And I think we're probably going to start seeing that narrative play out a bit, because some of those guys that made particularly big moves early on in the piece might be regretting that a bit now, but everything seems to be mostly calm at the moment. I can't see anybody. There's a bit of a, what is that? Clan Fever and Perkiko look like they might have a bit of an argument about 11th spot, but for the most part, we seem to be there's a bit of peace, shall we say?
Yes, and actually on that note, because we are in a little bit of a lull of the racing for now, we're on board with HC Lewis. Let's talk about liveries, because there's a whole bunch of liveries around the grid, and as I understand it, these are not just any liveries. And Nathan, you've been involved in the decals and the photography for the liveries as well. Do tell us a little bit about the different colours we're seeing on the grid.
Well, it's not true for most of them. The most of the sort of liveries that look similarly as far as the colours and stuff, we've gone off regional colours. So green and white is obviously the sort of Manawatu regions. The light blue and the dark blue is Auckland, just as an example. But then obviously some guys like to do their own designs. That's why you're seeing some more unique. There's a Red Bull one there, there's a Hoonkoop one there, of course. So it's we try to do the sort of the regional, more Nations Cup type thing. Obviously, it's not Nations Cup because it's all New Zealand, but the whole inter-regional type competition. But there is also the creative freedom, because some of these guys, as much as they're quick drivers, they're also talented artists, and we love seeing that sort of freedom unleashed on a car. And what a car to do a livery for, like the Toyota 86. It's an attractive looking race car.
Certainly, it's got some beautiful lines on it, and it's got a nice compact design, so it limits the amount of space you've got. And I've always found that limitations create some of the best artwork out there. So yeah, it's really cool to see some customization out there this time round. We've got some comments in the chat as well. Thank you all for jumping into chat. Lovely to have you all in here. We are going to be looking to get our driver of the day votes in towards the end of the race. We'll mention it again in about 10 or so laps time as we head towards the end of the race. But keep that in mind as you're going through. We're going to be asking all of you to put in a vote after the race to tell us who our driver of the day is, including you and me, Nathan. And it may be dependent on P1, we shall see, but we've seen some pretty epic moves so far and some really, really good racing out there. These two especially have been doing incredibly well at the moment. And even that said, right down the back of the grid, we've got action all the way down. Last place is only 0.6 of a second off of P13, and there's only a few seconds between them and the top 10, so it's so close all the way up the field. This is exactly what we were expecting from the Group 4 class.
Absolutely. And again, look, top guys in the country. These guys, it's racing. Racing is sometimes you have a bit of biff and bash, and sometimes it's quite clean. Certainly that start was quite on the frantic side. There was a few people quite eager to, not waste any time and make some big moves. But yeah, look, things look like they've simmered down at the moment. I think we'll sort of start to see things pick up again when people start to pit. And of course, that pit strategy, like you say, they do need to take the hard tyres. So those that have started on the mediums have already committed to making at least one pit stop. But then again, we don't get to see, us commentators don't get to see where the radar's looking like. For all we know, there could be a big storm cloud on the way.
Exactly right. We just have to keep looking out of the commentary window. Here's on board with Nemo. He's going for a move up the inside line of Big Head Ted. These two have been battling on and off all race
Made that
long.
one look easy, didn't he?
That was textbook, right? That was right out of the textbook, just like what we saw Simon Bishop do earlier on Nemo, and that was coming up to turn 3 a few laps ago. Simon is right on the back of HC Lewis as well. Fantastic battles we've got. This is within the top 10 as well. That position there was for P7, but I can guarantee you those two will be continuing to fight. In the meantime, it's these two. It's Lewis Atkinson and Simon Bishop going at it. Simon Bishop in the Red Bull livery Toyota 86 is on the inside, heading down to the braking zone of turn 4. It's going to give Lewis a chance to defend around the outside, but he can't make it happen. He's going to try the switcheroo on the inside line. Doesn't get it done. Wow, Simon Bishop takes page 2 from the book of overtake, throws it at Lewis and gets the move done beautifully, then defends in a lovely way into Route 2. So that is a position gain from Simon Bishop, now in P5 in this race, and he's going to be chasing down Dive Cable in P4. Nathan, that is a fantastic drive back from the bottom of the grid to P5. He's stayed out of the chaos. He's executed maneuvers out of the book of overtaking. Direct quote.
Oh, mate. Simon, again, like I said, Simon's been in the game a lot longer than most. Of course, his experience also predates Gran Turismo 7 itself. He was very prolific in the Gran Turismo sport, the FIA, the World Series back then. And so he's banged doors with the best of them: Koke Lopez, Igor Fraga, Cody Nikola Lakovsky, you name it. Simon's raced them, and I mean he's even quick enough and what's the word, revered enough, I suppose, to be an AI in Gran Turismo 7. So he's actually in the game. His face is in there as one of the AI drivers, and I don't think there's much more telling of a way to show that this man knows his Gran Turismo.
Exactly. Here we go into turn 3. Lewis was right on the rear bumper of Simon Bishop, but decides to work together for now. Not going to be executing any overtaking maneuvers. They know that Nemo and Big Head Ted coming up behind them rapidly, and that's going to be a situation that he needs to be aware of. Fighting, of course, will only lose you time to the people behind and lose you time to those ahead. Less of a chance to get to those overtakes just ahead of you. Looks like Lewis didn't really have the pace to get up to the rear end of Dive Cable at the moment. Again, that could well come down to a tyre difference. We'll keep a very close eye on that one. Dive Cable, however, we have not mentioned this man enough this race. He has been having a lonely race, but it's been a clean race. He's sitting in P4 quite happily, and he's sitting only 3 seconds behind Monkey Matt. He's primed for a move late in this race if he can get the strategy call right.
Well, that's the thing. See, sometimes the quiet races are the good races. Obviously, it can get a bit dull. It's easy to sort of get a bit, mentally, you sort of wander off, and then, oh, there's a mistake, and then that sort of leads it. But, Dive Cable, I mean, we saw it last year. He's good at just consistency. And, I mean, look at his times. 38, 38, 38, 30. He's just, another day in the office, just punching out 38s. His tyres are a bit second-hand at this point, of course. But, like, he's good at rinse and repeat. And you're seeing it now. He's 4th place at the moment. He's not that far off 3rd. Monkey Matt's obviously still within range. And look, we don't know what his strategy is, but he's another day in the office, and that's the sort of thing. Nice and consistent, and yeah.
Exactly. Well, there's so many different approaches to take with these cars. I mean, we've seen the Big Head Ted approach, which is absolutely send it into every corner you possibly can, and then make some really great overtakes and try and hold on to the position. Unfortunately, it's at some point cost him a few positions in the race, now down in P8, of course, and battling with Nemo, who he qualified well ahead of in the qualifying session in the wet. So we've got those kinds of, the more aggressive strategies that you take in the car. And then you've got the more passive-aggressive ones where you're sort of doing a mix of both. That's the all-rounder strategy. It's the Simon Bishops, the Matt McEwens. The top drivers are able to do all of these things at the time that they're required. And then you've got the more passive drives where you're really focusing on the strategy and consistency. And we did mention that quite a lot at the beginning of the stream, Nathan. We talked that strategy execution was going to be a huge one in these races, especially with 7 times tyres. 3 times fuel, not too worried about, but it's the tyre wear that's going to be an absolute killer. And you need to manage that. You need to make sure you're not pushing too much. Otherwise, the consistency drops off. So my guess here is that Dive Cable's tyres are probably some of the best out on the grid. I could well be wrong about that, but the fact that he's this consistent at the moment shows that at the very least he's doing enough to keep those tyres within a window.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that all comes from not being threatened. He's not being attacked. He's not being dive bombed. And similarly, he's not attacking Monkey Matt. He's not, pushing hard, or he's just, he's in his groove. He's in his element, and I definitely wouldn't discount him when we get to the latter end of that race. I just want to bring your attention real quick to Pukeko. If you want to just have a look at him real quick on stream, and just do me a favor real quick, just jump on board him, like jump cockpit cam. Reason for that, he's doing this season entirely in VR. So he's got a PSVR 2, and he only uses VR. So interesting to see. What you're seeing is what he's seeing. And of course, if anyone's ever used a PSVR 2, you know what a good system it is. But it does have its limitations. There is some crucial race information that he can't see, but he's still making it work. He's currently 12th, and he's playing the long game. So he's on the harder tire. He's just, he's yet to do the sort of the grippiest. And again, it's just always interesting. We have this not debate. People always talk about what the best camera is. Some people swear by bonnet cam, or some people swear by chase cam. There are chase cam drivers out there that are pretty quick, if I do say so. And but then when you use PSVR 2, well, of course, you've only got the one choice, don't you? So it's just interesting seeing these sorts of different different views, different views of different drivers.
I think it's a good point. It's an interesting one. Let us know in chat what if you are a Gran Turismo 7 driver, and I imagine most of you are. Do let us know what kind of camera you like to use in the game, because yeah, it is a subject of eternal debate. Oh, that is VTX Blindman kneeling having a huge moment at the exit of turn 9. FIA will probably look at that a little bit for track limits, I'm sure. Not that they're involved in this, but I like to make the joke because of the Formula 1 and how many penalties they love to give out at a place like this. And we've made our Carlos Sainz joke already, but it's more like the white line operator than anything around here, usually.
Yeah, there's nothing more demoralizing than making a mistake and then getting slapped with a penalty for it, especially when it's a mistake. There's no way he would have gained anything from that, but yeah, look, such is a professional competition with professional rules, and you know they expect you to be the best. So look, bit of a heartbreaker for Blindman, but look, it's still early. We're not even at halfway yet, and a lot of these guys, in fact, I don't think anybody's made a pit stop yet. So there's still that whole narrative to come, and then of course we keep talking about it, rain. When, where, and how heavy?
Exactly. Well, we've got 2.5 meter per second wind coming from the west or southwest position up towards the northeast at the moment. That's just increased to 2.6. So there might be a little bit of weather being blown in across the track at the moment. That is a good headwind for braking down into turn 1 if you're in a Formula 1 car. Of course, not so relevant for these Toyota 86 Group 4 cars because the aero dependence is not quite as much as a Formula 1 car. But you're absolutely right. Oh, actually, we have had our first pit stop. There we go. Caleb JB has decided to pull the trigger. He's at 40% fuel on board. He's got the medium tires on. So this could be interesting to explain maybe why he's been so competitive. Dive Cable also dives into the pit. 41% fuel, pretty much equal there. Medium tires as well for Dive Cable. This is going to elevate, of course, HC Lewis and Big Head Ted. We've got Nemo in the pits too, also on the medium tire. So Caleb will be the one who's going to be the pace setter on the first stint of the mediums to hard tire switch. So he'll be on his hard tires now going forward. That's quite a long stint there, Nathan, I'd say. We suspected it would be about 12 laps for the medium tires. Well, that's 14 or 13 laps that these guys have completed on these medium tires.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, the big question now is going to be, what does McEwen do? Because is he going to react? Is he going to dive into the pits this time round and try and sort of not get undercut? But yeah, look, it is a long time to go out. Interesting too, a lot of them have made a fuel call as well. Obviously they know how Gran Turismo shows you how much fuel you need to finish any given race, and a lot of people didn't fill all the way up to the top then. So it's going to be, you know, obviously they're driving to a fuel number as well as they're trying to look after their tires. So ideally you run out of fuel just after the finish line, but it can be dicey making that call. And again, bringing up weather once again, if the track gets wet, if we go wet weather, then you're not going to burn anywhere near as much fuel because of the reduced pace. So it's a fine equation to sort of calculate at the moment. And McEwen's still not pitted, so he's really getting his money's worth out of those tires. They're not looking very nice, as you'll see. Monkey Matt diving in. So is Simon following? Yep, Simon follows too. Let's talk a bit about this pit entry too, because this is a bit of a tricky one to do, especially if you've got traffic around you, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a nasty pit entry. It's not quite as nasty as some others that I can recall. Watkins Glen comes to mind immediately because that is absolutely atrocious. But in terms of Apex entries onto the pit, this is certainly right up there, because as soon as you're through on turn 9, you need to make a really hard right-hand sharp turn. You need to hold that inside Apex line. Otherwise, you're going to miss the pit entry and potentially go across the line, which could cost you a 3-second penalty. So you have to be very cautious through there. We talked about this earlier. But then, of course, if you've got a car right behind you, how do you tell them that you're going to go into the pit lane? How do you tell them that you're going to be slower through the Apex?
Well, the game does have functioning indicators, but, you know, like, it can be difficult to see that sort of thing in a battle situation. Obviously, I use the term a bit loosely, but when you're racing, you're not exactly looking at the other guy's indicators to see what he's doing. So I just want to watch Blind Man come out of the pits, because I think he might have actually copped a 3-second there.
Oh dear. Well, while you're doing that, we've got Psydog, who's made a massive improvement here. He's got himself up ahead of Dive Cable in the pit lane. So he's done it in strategy. This is what we were talking about. It could come down to how you execute your strategy. Dive Cable appears to have had a little bit longer in the pit lane there, and Simon Bishop has made another textbook move into turn 3 and gets ahead. Now our race leader, Matthew McEwen, is now in the pits. He was on the medium too, so it looks like Nathan, we had no one really on the hard tyres to begin with, and do tell us what you saw with Blind Man on the pit exit.
Yeah, so bad to worse for Blind Man. 5-second penalty for that pit stop, so he'll be absolutely kicking himself there. Yeah, interesting that you sort of bring up the tyre compounds. There's actually quite the variety at the moment, so it almost seems equal split. Who started on the mediums and who started on the hards. Obviously, those that started on the mediums are now on the hards, and then, versa, those who are on the hards. So now the narrative's flipped. McEwen's going to be vulnerable on the harder tyres. So does that mean that someone else on the grippier tyres? I'm just looking at who. So Monkey Matt at the moment, sitting in P8, which is now P5 because he's just passed a whole bunch of people in the pits. He's on the medium tyres. How much time is he going to be able to chip away to McEwen?
It's
13 seconds now, and clear track. Is he going to do a dive cable? Is he just going to another day at the office?
Yep, might well do. Well, here's the interesting development from up the top of the grid. We've had a few that have not pitted from down the rest of the grid. That's Pukeko and Airborne sitting P2 and P4 respectively. Caleb, though, came out behind those two. Because they didn't pit, he's got that traffic to get through. Matthew McEwen did not have to traverse that traffic. That means Caleb has got to get past at least one more car now. He's got to get past Airborne. Yes, his tyres will be very low, will Airborne's, and so that should mean that Caleb should be able to get past him with relative ease, but that's costing him time there. Even with McEwen on the hard tyres, that's going to be costing him quite a bit of time. And yes, I had to eat my words there massively, because as soon as I had said everyone was on the medium tyres, suddenly all the hard runners came in. And yes, does look like it's about half the grid, doesn't it? So a real mix out there now.
This is the thing too. Blue flag rules do not apply. Just because Airborne's there doesn't mean... see, look at this. Look, he's indicating to show that he's intending to pit this time round. So again, great communication between the drivers for that sort of purpose. But, everyone talks about blue flags and get out of the way, I'm the faster car, but because he's not a lap down, that doesn't apply. So Caleb had to get by him like any other car. He doesn't get a free pass just because I'm Caleb and I'm faster than you. So yeah, look, bit of a frustration for him possibly, but now he's clear. He's got 3 seconds to McEwen and game on, really.
That's right. Yep, it is going to be game on indeed. The gap between Caleb and Monkey Matt is about 8.5 seconds, so there is quite the gap there for Monkey Matt to make up, though he will be running now on his faster set of tyres, so he should be able to make up a bit of distance. However, he does have Simon Bishop coming up in P4, so let's just do a very quick rundown of the grid for everyone, just to give an idea of where everyone is now that the pit stops, the first pit stops that is, have elapsed. We're on the 17th lap. Matthew McEwen leads us away. He has just managed to find himself back out in clean air ahead of formerly P2, P3, now back down in their provisional position, or their actual positions in P11, P12. Then, of course, Caleb in P2 driving really well. He's actually already made up a little bit of time, just nearly edging underneath that 3-second gap that he's got to McEwen ahead. Monkey Matt has already found a bit of time out there, found a couple of tenths in those first few corners since Caleb has come out of the pits. The P3 for Monkey Matt at the moment, and he's got Simon Bishop right behind him. What a drive from Simon Bishop so far this race. This has been a massive comeback from him, from last on the grid all the way to P4. Then we've got HC Lewis here, Lewis Atkinson, holding on to P5 right now. He's found his way past Dive Cable as well. So Dive Cable going on to, I think he's on the harder tyres now. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nathan, but he is looking a lot slower now than he was in that initial stage of the race.
Yeah, looks like it. I mean, look, he might have been banking on obviously the rain playing a factor a bit earlier into the piece, which, sometimes when you're on that, again, we don't know when it's going to show up, if it's going to show up, but, sometimes you have to make a gamble, and it looked like his gamble was hanging out for the rain, because if it had paid off, then he would have basically cut out a pit stop. But, yeah, look, not to say that it hasn't worked, but it maybe hasn't fleshed out the way he's intended, but I mean, he's still setting consistent lap times, even though he's on the less optimal tyre at the moment. His times are still sort of within the same second, 38s, 39s. So he's just, he's got the tyre strategy. He's got the tyre driving techniques, I suppose, down. Yes. Now
tyre
it's just
whispering.
a case of, the tyre whispering. But, I mean, look, you're seeing it already with, like, a lot of those guys. I mean, McEwen was very late to pit as far as the front runners, so he's got much better conditioned tyres, probably about 2, possibly 3 laps better shaped tyres, and it's really proving because he's just gone and set a purple sector. Interesting to notice too, fastest lap at the moment, Lewis. So
Yes.
Lewis on those mediums, he's currently got the fastest lap. Of course, McEwen just set a purple sector. It wasn't by much, so it'll be interesting to follow him for this next sort of like 2 corners and see if he can snatch that fastest lap away. Is there anything for fastest lap?
That is
mind
a
if there is.
good question, actually. I do have the
We
race
might need
regulations
to-
up. We'll keep an eye on the
Might need to
line.
check that
It
one out.
is
And
no fastest lap there for McEwen. He's come across the line with a 37.7, so 0.3 off the pace there. Yeah, do let us know when you've got that answer. I don't think there is, but I could be wrong. We'll confirm with
pretend
our
like it is,
regulations.
because
Well, no, we
fastest lap
can't. We
is
can't
still a
pretend.
cool-
No, hold on. We'll find this out.
No, but we still, everyone still wants to know who the fastest on the track. Yeah, this is the thing. If you've had a hard start, like if you know, Blind Man could just as easily punch out a quick lap now, but that's not going to stop the fact that he's unfortunately towards the rear of things. So you know, sometimes the track position doesn't necessarily equate to who's actually the fastest. It's one of those things about motorsports. It's very good. It's a tactical thing as well.
It certainly is, yes. So continuing our run down the field as we do, we will confirm whether there's points or not for the fastest lap at some point in a few moments' time. Big Head Ted is sitting in P7 up from P8. He's gone ahead of Scar during the pit stop period. In fact, I don't think he has. I think what's happened is Crimson has had a bit of a bad pit stop or laps around there because he's now down at a P9. So P7 Big Head Ted, P8 to Scar, who we have not talked about that much, but he's setting some great lap times out there. This last lap of his, it was a 1:37.440. That is literally 33 hundredths of a second off of Lewis's best lap time. So with a bit of sun out here, actually, Nathan, I think that's one thing I have noticed about the on-track conditions. It's looking a little bit sunnier at the moment. There's a few rays of sunlight cutting through the clouds that we had at the beginning of the race. Purple sector there too, sector 2 for Scar. He is absolutely going like the clappers. But yeah, it is looking a little bit brighter on track. Crimson in P9, followed by Clan Fever in P10. Then we've got Airborne in P11, Pukeko in P12 with the PSVR2 headset going full immersion for this race, which I absolutely respect and love. And yeah, brilliant work by him. Then Nemo in P13. That is not a great position that he has slipped down to, unfortunately for him. Blind Man in P14 to round out the grid, and unfortunately for Blind Man, he is 34 seconds off the back of the grid, so a fair ways off things at the moment. Fastest lap now to Scar with a 1:37.369. Lewis is going to be chomping at the bit to get that back, I suspect. Oh,
Well,
and
that's
sorry
the
to
thing.
interrupt, the more news here. Simon Bishop has gotten past Lewis Atkinson.
Oh, okay. So that's dude. Look, he's just on a charge, isn't he, Simon? Yeah, you're seeing some sunlight now. I'm wondering if maybe the track temperature's getting up there, and because obviously more sunlight, more temperature, more grip. So we might see that fastest lap trade hands a couple of times now. It's definitely looking a lot, like you say, a lot more pleasant and balmy and mild than it was about 20 minutes ago. Is that the whole story? Hopefully. I know a lot of these guys will be hoping that it is, and if anyone's doing a rain dance in the chat, please stop, because you're making these guys a bit nervous. Simon now with the purple sector, so it's going to be really interesting to see. I think we're just going to watch this fastest lap tumble, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think that's right. Then the track does look, you know, it's looking sunnier and sunnier. It's going to get warmer and warmer, especially for those who are on the medium tires. This is going to be feeling better and better. They're going to feel like they've got more grip every single lap, despite having 7 times tyre wear on. That's going to potentially play quite the major factor. At the moment, though, it's not going to play a major factor in the top battle because Caleb has not made a lot of progress on our leader in Matthew McEwen. So Matthew McEwen's with a, well, now still 3.2 second gap, the gap between P1, 2, 3, that hasn't changed at all, Nathan. So it seems to be relatively stable between the top 3 drivers. Now the competition is to see who's going to be able to get up into that top 5. We haven't talked about this yet, but we know that the drivers that finish in those bottom 3 or so positions are going to be at risk of potential relegation down to Division 2, with the Division 2 race winner elevated up based on our dynamic breakout point system.
Absolutely. Well, for Blind Man, I don't think that's going to matter too much for him because he was actually...
Oh, newsflash. Matthew McEwen has spun at Schloss Gold. He has gone round and has found himself in P2. Caleb JB takes the lead of the race. What has happened there for Matthew McEwen? That is a disaster for his race. It looks like he's just clipped the outside line of the exit of Schloss Gold, Nathan. That's massive.
the man you'd put your money on. I mean, he's just, and like I said, look, just because he's the top driver doesn't mean he's immune to mistakes, and you've just seen it. And now he's going to become like I don't think he's got too much damage though. The car still looks pretty straight, but I mean that's got to hurt. And now Monkey Matt's going to probably sit there and go, "What the heck am I able to?" He's,
Oh.
you know, just a lap ago he was, you know, now he's got Matthew McEwen right there. So I mean, look, how good for Caleb. I mean, Caleb will be excited. He'll be trying to sort of keep the nerves. You know, obviously you don't want to trip up now that you've you know, been handed the race lead. And yeah, look, that's a rare mistake from Matthew McEwen.
Certainly
That's,
is. It's a tricky braking zone there, and he's just got it slightly rolling into turn 4, spun it around. He will be holding maybe a little bit of damage on the car as well, but when we also know that Caleb's pace was about equal to that that Matthew McEwen was doing, so the chances for Matthew McEwen to catch up in 5 laps are, I'd say, pretty much impossible. But you know, stranger things have happened. The
Well, I don't know
psychological
about
pressure now
I don't
goes
know
to
about
Caleb.
impossible. Don't know, I
No,
wouldn't say
impossible was a
impossible,
strong
but,
word, but it's improbable
know.
is the word probably to use. It's a tough one because they were at equal pace all the way through since that pit stop. Caleb made no progress on McEwen at all until that mistake there. So if Caleb can hold up his pace, maintain the poise under the psychological pressure he's now under as the leader of this first round, then he is in the prime spot, and there's not going to be a lot that Matthew McEwen's going to be able to do about that unless he absolutely drives, you know, the wheels off of that Toyota 86, and it's going to be a tough order. He's going to have to potentially worry about Monkey Matt behind. That said, Monkey Matt's pace was also very similar to Caleb, so all 3 of them really just sitting in these positions as it is right now with not a lot of movement either way.
I think you'd be more worried if you were Monkey Matt, because you got Psydog, who's only half a second, not even that, 0.4 of a second behind him. He won't be wasting any time. He'll be looking for somewhere to have a mighty lunge. We'll keep tabs on that one. Just want to mention real quickly, we were talking about the bottom, was it 2 or 3 that potentially get demoted with the floating divisions. It's not gonna. I don't think it's going to matter too much for Blind Man, because he qualified Division 2, and he got bumped up due to a few withdrawals and some people that couldn't make it tonight. Same with Pukiko. Pukiko was actually the top of Division 2, so he went from being the top of one division to the bottom of the next division. So I don't think they're going to be too fast if they get demoted tonight. Nemo, however, he's going to be the one who's really wanting to avoid that fate, because we know he's good, and we saw him last year in Wellington. I don't think he'll be very happy if he gets demoted tonight. So
That's right.
We'll keep an eye on that story for you. But yeah, I'm still in awe about our friend Matthew McEwen.
Oh, and speaking of awe, Simon Bishop is throwing the overtaking book at yet another driver. This time it's Monkey Matt who's having the books flying past his ears. And looks like he's managed to hold on so far, holds the inside line into Rouch, but that's the outside line. Still an overlap there for Simon Bishop, and he's going to be side by side, both of them into Worth Curve. That is not how you want to go in to the S's section at the exit of the infield. Looks like Simon Bishop has always just touched the grass tyre onto the gravel there, and he's made the move happen. It didn't happen in one corner, Nathan. It happened in 4. I guess that must be page 4 of the overtaking book by Simon Bishop. Monkey Matt fighting back with a vengeance. He wants that P3 back. He knows that's for a podium position and potentially a P2, because Matthew McEwen is now in range.
Absolutely, and Blind Man doing the right thing, getting out of the way. Now blue flags come into effect because he is getting put a lap down. But yeah, Monkey Matt's not gonna. He's gonna want that spot back. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bit of a lunge here, not here. Maybe turn 3, maybe turn 4. But yeah, look. Absolute masterclass from Simon. He's just he's stuck it. And they're not on fresh tires. Remember, they are not on very nice condition tires. So for them to be able to hold that corner, but also give each other room, but also be nice and clean and respectful. See, daily race drivers, it can be done.
That's right. Simon Bishop does defend down the inside of turn 3 from a very, very strong attack from Monkey Matt himself. And that was nearly a move around the outside line. That would have been absolutely stunning. That would have been the overtaking book thrown right back in the face caught and deflected by the Monkey King, so to speak, doing some kung fu moves out there to try and send it back on Simon Bishop. But Simon Bishop throws the other book he's got. He uses his right hand to throw the defensive masterclass book at Monkey Matt and holds onto the position. Monkey Matt's going to have to make something happen with this, or Simon Bishop may just find himself creeping away, and that would eliminate the opportunity for an overtake from Monkey Matt. And of course, you've got to remember that HC Lewis not too far behind these two either. This could end up being a three. Oh no, McEwen!
McEwen half a second, so that's going to sting him as well. He might not fall victim to Bishop or Monkey Matt. Sorry for the interruption, but that was just another uncharacteristic mistake from McEwen. So look, he's just got to survive these last few laps. But yeah, look, this is what we were talking about before the race, was the fact that these sorts of things do happen. And you know, the first few laps, yeah, they were hectic, but now that things have settled down, now you're starting to see these sorts of stories crop up.
That's right, yeah. Well, Matthew McEwen, obviously, after that move, I mean, any driver would be frustrated with making a mistake like that. So he's been driving as fast as he possibly can to try and catch back up to Caleb, but we all know that when we drive faster and harder, it sometimes makes more mistakes. Mistakes breed mistakes, just like safety cars breed safety cars. We've got another move here. Monkey Matt trying around the outside line up into turn 3 once again on Simon Bishop. Defensive line for Simon Bishop. Holds the inside beautifully, gives racing space on the outside line, gets on the power beautifully once again. That's going to force Monkey Matt to the outside line of turn 4. As they head down the hill, but it's going to be advantage Monkey Matt. He's got the overlap, and he's got it done. So Monkey Matt returns to P3. What a great bit of racing between these two. Simon Bishop's got an opportunity to outbrake him on the inside line, thinks better of it, and they will continue to go side by side as we head towards the infill section. Oh, I love this. It's absolutely brilliant. And this is only round 1, Nathan.
Now, don't discount Lewis either, because he's in the back there, and if anything happens with these two, if they trip each other up, if they cause any issues, Lewis stands to gain as well. So, like, he's just waiting in the wings. He's rubbing his hands together. Come on, boys, you guys fight each other. I'll just clean up the mess. And yeah, I think this is definitely this is probably going to go to the checkered flag, because I mean, we know that these guys are all very talented, and they can and they will. And you know, is it going to end in tears? Put your bets now in the chat.
We shall see. So remember, get your driver of the day votes in, please. Who do you think has had the best overtakes, etc.? But driver of the day votes as much as you can. We're on lap 25 of 27. We're heading towards the end of round 1 here at the NZERS, the New Zealand Esports Racing Series in 2024. Of course, sponsored by the Next Level Racing, Secret Labs, Respawn Esports, and our primary sponsor, Toyota Gazoo Racing New Zealand. We are racing in the Toyota 86 Group 4 cars today, and what racing we've had. HC Lewis, that's a great exit out of turn 1. He's right on the back now, double slipstream for him, essentially. Simon Bishop right ahead on the back of Monkey Matt. He's going to try defensive. He's going to squeeze Simon Bishop to the inside as much as possible. Purple lap in Sector 1 for Lewis as these two go side by side again. A little bit of a bump there from behind. HC Lewis, he's going to have the move. He's going to have the power down. He's on the inside of Monkey Matt now. Nathan, you were right. This is HC Lewis. Do not count him out, especially when you're battling. It's going to push you back into another driver, and we often say in a three-way battle, it's the driver who's third place who's got the best position.
Now, there is another story that's emerging here too. I sort of didn't think about it at the time, but these guys fueled up to the end, and some of them, their fuel lights are starting to come on now. So Lewis especially, is he going to have enough fuel to make it home? That's possibly an emerging, because do you attack and burn more fuel, or do you conserve? And I mean, you'd hate to run out at a time like this, right? This is a pretty critical moment in the race.
That's right, yeah. They've got to manage that fuel all the way through. Got to put exactly the right amount. Of course, the longer you spend stopped in the pit lane, the further behind you will be. So you want to be a little bit conservative if you can. Maybe a little bit of lift and coast can be useful. Sometimes hard to do, because in these Group 4 cars, you just want to be absolutely throttling them out to the absolute maximum to get the most out of the power and the most out of the traction through the apex and out onto the exit of the corner. But yes, it's going to be fascinating to see if we do have someone in a situation where they are on a fuel-saving mode. That is going to be the end of their battle, whichever it ends. So we're on the final lap now. Lap 27 out of 27, please. Put your driver of the day votes into chat. Our leader at the moment, we haven't spoken enough about this man. Caleb JB ran P2 all the way through the race, had a fantastic start on lap 1. And he's managed to hold on to it all the way up to the point where Matthew McEwen made an unforced error and ended up giving Caleb JB the win. And looks like he is in a position, the prime position at the moment, to take home the first win of round 1 in the online season for NZERS. He's got a 7.5 second gap too, so he just needs to get around this part of the lap. Then, of course, P2, Matthew McEwen, a few uncharacteristic mistakes, as we said so before. But this is the battle we've kept our eyes on for the last few laps. It's been absolutely brilliant. Simon Bishop has solidified at the moment that P3 position, but HC Lewis just made a move on Monkey Matt. Monkey Matt's going to come back on him, though, on the inside of Rauch corner, and he's going to have it done on the reverse. So brilliant work there by Monkey Matt. HC Lewis is trying absolutely everything. These chaps never short of a few overtaking and defensive books to throw at each other. That is a term you're going to be hearing from me all season long, because we've been seeing some great overtakes all the way through this race. Absolutely brilliant, brilliant stuff. Caleb JB, he's going to come around turn 10 for the final time. Lap 27 out of 27. Caleb JB with a 7-second lead will take home P1 and the checkered flag for round 1 in the NZERS. What a race by that man. Absolutely brilliant. Matthew McEwen comes home P2. We'll look at the results in a few moments' time. Simon Bishop P3, that's your podium. And then Monkey Matt still just ahead of HC Lewis. Oh, absolutely stunning, stunning work. But Caleb JB deserves a round of applause. Kept it consistent, was great all the way throughout the race, executed his strategy effectively, and it's bagged himself a P1 after making the least mistakes out of the top 3. So absolutely well done there to Caleb JB. What an absolutely brilliant race we have just beholden, Nathan. Oh, man. Everyone in chat, please get your driver of the day in. We're going to go to the results in a few moments' time, soon as the race does officially end and I catch my breath.
This is the sort of racing that we love to watch here, especially the New Zealand Esports Racing Series. Brought to you by Respawn, brought to you by Tour de Gazoo Racing New Zealand. How good was that? I mean, God, there's so many storylines to unpack from that race, isn't there? I mean, you got McEwen with his absolute textbook start, unforced error, and then just what the heck happened there. Simon, last to podium. I mean, how often does that happen? That is just phenomenal work. Phenomenal work from the Red Bull clad driver. And then, as we see there too, well-deserved win from Caleb. Up 5 spot. We're seeing a few votes drip in now, aren't we?
We certainly are, yes. And please keep your driver of the day votes coming in. We'll do a little calculation. I'm already seeing a trend emerging, though. I think you are too, Nathan. Could you keep an eye on that and keep maybe a little bit of a count in your head as to what that's looking like? Let's speak briefly about driver of the day. We've got the results up on the screen as well. I mean, for me at the moment, there's a couple of people on the draw here. There's a couple of storylines, as you said, Nathan. Really, really well done by a couple of the drivers out there on the grid. Caleb, obviously one of them. Simon Bishop, another one. And a few honourable mentions around the grid as well. I mean, so unlucky for Matthew McEwen there. I mean, if anyone was going to get a driver of the day, he's pole sitter. He was in there for the win. But those couple of unforced errors really, really cost him today. And he's going to be absolutely kicking himself for that. He's such a competitive man. We heard him in the qualifying interview as well. So keen. Has put on so much practice, so much dedication in that to make an unforced error. He's going to be absolutely gutted. But there is one person on the grid who's going to be absolutely elated. Literally first place out of essentially nowhere. We're going to be talking to him very, very soon, but it is Caleb BJ and JB, and I'm going to give my driver of the day to Caleb, and I think Chad agrees with me. Nathan, let's have some thoughts for you before we jump into our interview, and we've got him lined up, but we'll jump into the interview in a few moments' time once we do your driver of the day.
Mate, I honestly, I reckon Simon, because last to third, that, you know, like, look, I'm not taking away from what happened to Caleb, and obviously race win is what's most important. You know, no one's going to remember the last two, not first, but well, it's a bit harsh, but you know what I mean. I'm not taking away from the win, but definitely Simon did more overtaking there. But look, chat seems to agree that Caleb's got the driver of the day, so I think we're going to go with the chat, aren't we, or
Fantastic.
face humiliation?
Yes, well, we're a democratic system here, so we have to go with the majority. Let's just run through very briefly the full results from Division 1. Caleb JB takes P1 with a 7-second gap over Matthew McEwen, who takes P2. Then your third position and last on the podium, Simon Bishop, last to third. That's very impressive today. Monkey Matt will be a bit gutted with that. He was in for a podium position as well, but has to take fourth place in New Zealand today. The fourth place always being the little joke here in New Zealand. HC Lewis finds himself in P5 after the race, followed by Scar. That's a great fight back from Scar today. He's had a few issues. HC Lewis, of course, with that 1-second penalty at the end. Hasn't cost him a position to Scar, so he'll hold on to fifth. Scar 6th. Big Head Ted, unfortunately, he was looking also at being up in the top 5 today, but P7 for him, followed by Dive Cable, also similar situation. Those two should have been up there really in the top 5 is what they're going to be thinking. Then looking further down the grid, we've got Crimson, another one who was right up there at the top, qualified extremely well, but finds himself with a 1-second penalty at the end of the race, P9. Then Clan Fever rounding out your top 10, followed by P11, honorably airborne. Then Pukeko 9, who's a drop-in, of course, from Division 2 for this race. P12 for him, that's a good result. Nemo will be kicking himself. You've said this earlier, Nathan. Nemo is going to be frustrated with this. He may have to find his way back into Division 1 in future rounds. And then last in the grid today, also a Division 2, bring in VTX Blindman GT. Now it's time to go to our interview with our race winner, and it is Caleb. So welcome in to the commentary box. Caleb, mate, you were thinking you were going to be on for P2 there today. This must feel fantastic. How are you feeling after that 27-lap race?
Oh, mate, I'm absolutely stoked. I mean, after qualifying 6, which was, really disappointing for me, to walk away with the win, it's just incredible. I'm so pleased.
Yeah, and big congratulations from all of us. I also get to congratulate you on being our first driver of the day for the 2024 season of NZERS. So congratulations. You're not only your own favourite right now, you're also the people's favourite as well. So big congratulations. What was the thoughts when you saw Matthew McEwen in front spinning? Obviously, we all feel for him that there's something that none of us as drivers want to see. This time out, of course, it's given you that win, but you must have had a flood of emotions at that point.
Oh, I was just stunned. Like, when I came around that corner just to see him in the wall, I was like, oh my God. Like, originally I thought it must have been like a back marker, but to see it was McEwen, I just couldn't believe my eyes.
Absolutely.
I did feel a little bit sorry for him, but glad to, get the P1. I kept up with him all race and sort of kept him on his toes. So yeah,
that's right. Especially in that beginning first stint there. I mean, he had gotten a really good getaway. There was a bunch of action between P2 and P6. You managed to get through that really, really nicely. I think it was in turn 3 where you made that big move to get yourself up into P2.
Yeah, no, I knew I had to get that done ASAP because I didn't know what other tyres the other guys were on, of course. So I knew by starting on the mediums, I would just have to get by them as soon as possible and to, make the strategy work to try and keep up with Matthew.
That's right. Yeah, we saw you come out of the pits as well, jumping on to the hard tyres. Was it the medium tyre? You have to remind me exactly what your strategy was at the end of that pit
stop.
So
I started on mediums,
the mediums, then you went to
13 into the hards, yeah.
That's right. So you came out there and you were I think there was about a 3-second gap to McEwen. And basically all race long, the times were equal. You guys were both really, really consistent. You weren't letting him get away. I mean, every time he gained a little bit, you'd pull that back. So your pace was really, really good today. And combine that with a race win, must be feeling absolutely brilliant about your chances in this competition.
Yeah, I mean, it just confirms my pace. I mean, I've been working super hard on this game, doing all the competitions that are available, like the Nations Cup, Manufacturers Cup, and yeah, I've seen my pace just consistently improve, and this is another confirmation of that. So, just really pleased.
Absolutely right. So, yes, big congratulations to yourself, Caleb. You are, of course, our first race winner here in round 1. If you'd like to say anything else to the live audience and anyone, any shout-outs you'd like to make, please go ahead. And then we're going to start to round out our first stream. And what a race that was. I mean, there's just so much action. But yeah, over to you, Caleb, for any final words you've got before we head off.
Just well done to everyone. It was a great race. I'm sure everyone was really close behind, so I'm sure there was a lot of action that you guys enjoyed. I'm sure they enjoyed, but just well done to everyone, and we'll catch you next Friday.
Brilliant. Thank you, and congratulations again, Caleb. Chat also saying congratulations as well, so thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. Well, let me switch back. So we've got Nathan on the video because I've managed to give him a blue screen instead. I promise his computer is not crashing. Okay, everyone. Wow, Nathan. I mean, I'm still fizzing from that race. It was brilliant. Caleb, obviously, he did have some emotions in that moment where he saw McEwen in the wall. Obviously, he felt a little bit sorry, but then went, okay, now this is my race.
Well, that's absolutely it. I mean, when the race leader crashes out, and when you're second place, of course you're going to be absolutely elated. You've just had the race handed to you on a platter, right? So you're always going to appreciate that. But then there is, like you say, there is the sort of, oh yeah, but I'm sure he would have wanted to win on pace or on, battling him or whatever. But mistakes are a part of racing, and it's as valid a win as ever. It doesn't take anything away from the fact that he crossed that finish line first. But yeah, look, I'm sure. I mean, McEwen. I can already tell you, McEwen's probably doing laps for next week already because he will want revenge. And like these guys put a lot of time and a lot of effort. I mean, you heard him there. He does all the driving he can to try and give himself an edge, and that's the sort of approach that's the champion mindset, isn't it? You don't become the best by sitting here and staring at the menus and browsing the car dealerships and looking at the cars. No, you become the best by competing. So no, I like the fire, I like the drive, and it'll be interesting to see what happens next week because again, we get to do it all again, another track, another set of conditions, and yeah, I don't think you really could. I think that's pretty solid. One of the best starts to a season I've seen.
Absolutely, yeah. And we didn't have the predicted rain today, though. So we were, in some ways, in the commentary box, we always hope a little bit of rain because we like to see the mix up. We like to see the extra strategy there. But I think everyone else on the grid is probably going to be quite happy that the rain didn't actually arrive.
Absolutely, and again, we the commentary can't see the weather radar, but they've got the weather radar. They've got the tools to sort of, predict what's going to happen. So I'm guessing it was very clear, or if there was any rain, it missed the track. So happy days in that regard. But yeah, look, it's you're never too certain when there's the threat of weather. You never know for certain if it's going to come because if you're too complacent and it won't rain, well, of course it will rain. Well, I mean, we had a wet qualifying, so we did get some slip and slide action, and of course you saw a few people there struggling. The quali order was perhaps a bit not the way it would have been if it was a dry quali. But no, I think that was a very good first round. Looking forward to seeing what happens next.
Absolutely right. Like I have put up a poll in chat. My apologies. We sort of just decided to do it just by the numbers, what we could see, and it was very clear the numbers. However, we have put up a poll in the chat. That'll be something that we do regularly, of course, in the broadcast when we're juggling 5 different things in the first round. Things always go a little bit awry. We've got a few things, of course, that we're going to be fixing up in the stream too. So any little things that you might have seen, trust me, we're on top of it. But we really appreciate it. That was a fantastic race. This is really boding so well for Division 1. I'm so looking forward to where we're going in round 2. So let's talk a little bit about that before we head off tonight. Of course, round 2 is going to be on the 13th of September at 8 p.m. So same time, same place. We'll also be trying to go out to the NZ Sim Racing TV channels as well. So we will have extra channels this being broadcast to as well as here on Respawn Esports. Next week, Brands Hatch. Well, we're going from sort of a lot, very few corners and some straights to very few corners and absolutely no straights whatsoever. And this is going to be a really interesting one, I think, for these Toyota 86 group cars. What do you think we can expect from Brands Hatch next week?
Oh, Brands Hatch is a tough track to race on. I mean, it's iconic, it's legendary. It's probably one of the oldest tracks. It was created in sort of like the year 2. But yeah, look, it's one of those things. It's tight, it's narrow. There's a lot of corners that just go on and on. And then of course there's the dreaded turn 1, which, anybody who's ever played a racing game ever that has Brands Hatch on it knows exactly what turn 1's like. And yeah, I think we're going to be in for a treat. It's going to be interesting to see who can master that one. Definitely going to be a bit harder to overtake, a bit harder to make some of those battling moves that we saw tonight. But again, these guys are the top, and it's up to them to rise to the challenge. So yeah, I think we're going to be it's going to be easy for you and me. Of course, we get to just sit here and watch and laugh. But yeah, no, it's going to be awesome.
And commiserate. That's what we do. We commiserate. We share the emotional impacts of people's mistakes with them live on stream. So yes, agreed. And thank you very much, Nathan Howe. Thank you again for jumping in the commentary box. I look forward to jumping in the commentary box with you once again next week. Thank you for all the insights today. It's been absolutely fantastic. So a couple of housekeeping items before we head off for the stream. Of course, another big thanks to our sponsors, who are of course Toyota Gazoo Racing New Zealand. We've got the Next Level Racing, Respawn Esports, and Secret Labs. as well. So a big thank you to everyone who has jumped in to support the NZERS. What a race that we had today. 27 laps of intense side-by-side action through Red Bull Ring. It was absolutely brilliant. We had a wet qualifying. We had drama in the race. We had some fantastic books. The books of overtaking, the artisans of defensive moves, and it was getting tossed left, right, and center, and we hope to see more. Big congratulations to Caleb, of course, for taking home the first win of the season in round one. Puts himself in a great position going forward in this 6-round series. We'll be back on the 13th of September next Friday, so please give us a follow and a like. We're available on the Respawn Esports channels on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Go give us a follow to make sure you get notified about upcoming races, and we're going to be having so much more for you. Photos coming up, results also coming up on the social medias, so get involved. Get involved in this NZERS series, the premier New Zealand esports racing series here on Gran Turismo, finding out the fastest Gran Turismo 7 driver here in 2024 in New Zealand. For myself, George Cook, and Nathan Howe, thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next time. Have a fantastic weekend out there. Stay safe, and we will see you on the next stream. Good evening, and good night, and goodbye.